Rockstar Games used to release an unbelievably large number of video games in their early days, which mainly included the PlayStation 2 era. Not only are there so many GTA games to be found on the 6th generation of gaming consoles, but there are games that some of you wouldn't even recognize which got published under them, such as State of Emergency. As we entered the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era, Rockstar became far more ambitious with their titles, and thus reduced how often they released them. And this focus on quality and scale over quantity allowed them to make the first Red Dead Redemption game the masterpiece that it is. And just a quick heads up, there are many speculations that this game is going to get remastered soon, but I'll cover this topic in one of my future videos, so make sure to subscribe. It was a no-brainer that other than GTA, the one game that they would prioritize in their library going forward was Red Dead Redemption, thanks to its sheer popularity. And then, we finally got to experience Red Dead Redemption 2, which is now considered one of the greatest video games ever made. At the time of its release, it broke records of how fast something in the entertainment industry generated money, and as of today, it has sold around 50 million copies, which puts it in the top 10 most sold games of all time. With such amazing success, we don't even need an official announcement to know for sure that Red Dead Redemption 3 will come out, and Rockstar starts developing video games 4 to 7 years before they are released, so it's very safe to assume that they are already working on it. Though it's undeniable that it will come out after Grand Theft Auto 6 does, because that is their focus for now. Regardless, even if Rockstar Games hasn't officially revealed RDR3 yet, there are always rumors, leaks, and industry secrets that let us get an insight into the projects. After all, Rockstar has told us such little about GTA 6 thus far, yet the leaks that we recently saw already gave us such a great idea of what the game will be like. So, let's dive into everything that we know about RDR3 so far. An interesting thing to note here is that there have been a few alleged leaks where people found mentions of Red Dead Redemption 3 within files and job listings. However, it was later debunked by hardcore fans and industry insiders, because something that not many people remember is that Red Dead Redemption 2 is in fact the third game in the franchise. The very first one is Red Dead Revolver on the PlayStation 2, then we have Red Dead Redemption, which told John Marston's story, and finally, we have Red Dead Redemption 2. Although this game has 2 in its name officially, it was sometimes referred to as RD3 and RDR3 internally within development, as it is the third game in the franchise. The strongest rumor in consideration was a random Rockstar employee on LinkedIn who wrote that he worked as an AI programmer for RDR3, but then he changed it to just an AI programmer from 2014 to 2016 and removed the mention of RDR3. This is certainly just meant to be RDR2 because the years mentioned definitely line up with the release date of the game itself. Rockstar wouldn't be developing RDR3 before RDR2 and GTA 6 even come out. Any and all rumors and leaks that relied on finding random mentions of RD3 online have been false, but that's not to say that the game isn't in development at all, because Rockstar will try to release it a few years after GTA 6 comes out, and you need to have the game in development for longer than that time if you want to release it in the same generation, especially since Rockstar always tries to raise the scale with each release, and you can't make something like that in 3 years only. First, Red Dead Redemption gave us a diverse cast of characters, most of whom die by the hands of John Marston. It felt a bit anticlimactic and made them feel like supporting characters, because while we know that they used to be John's friends, we never get to truly know them individually. This set up the stage for Red Dead Redemption 2, as that game took us into the past and reintroduced all of these characters to us in their peak. We got to see their personalities, strengths, weaknesses, and relationships with not only John, but each other too. And they felt far more organic than just random supporting characters, which eventually makes RDR1 feel more tragic too. Now, interestingly, Red Dead Redemption 3 cannot go any further into the past because we don't need to know the story of anyone else. We already have the past, the present, and the future of every character that we know and love from these 2 games. However, when it comes to going into the future, that seed was already planted in the ending of Red Dead Redemption 1. We see that a grown Jack Marston has become an outlaw, just like his father, and ends up exacting revenge against the man who orchestrated the murder of John. That is conclusive in itself for John's story, but for Jack that is just the beginning of a new chapter. He has gotten revenge, but not only is he an outlaw which are constantly being hunted down by the police, he also killed someone that the new government considers important. This makes him a target of the state like no one had been before him from the Van der Linde gang, and that can make for a very interesting story, especially since Rockstar wouldn't just end it again the same way, and we might have something like John going to a different country, or just becoming a civilian, which has been hinted hinted in Grand Theft Auto 5, as you can find a fictional book written by Jack Marston. It's a cute Easter egg, but it can be a genuine plot point, because if you played the first RDR, you'll remember that Jack was very fascinated by books. So there is a lot to explore with Jack's story, and many believe that this is what RDR 3 will be about. And there are several characters still alive other than Jack too, whom we haven't seen the last of, such as Landon Ricketts and Bonnie McFarlane. And of course, we could even have a story about Landon Ricketts' past, and then eventually the story can go farther than what we saw of him in RDR 1 for a worthy conclusion. It's not even just about the characters that we already know, because Rockstar is excellent at making all new characters. One way or another, it will be very entertaining to see a story about an outlaw turning into a civilian and living a long life, unlike the previous two games where everyone dies by the end. Furthermore, one type of setting that people really want in a future Red Dead Redemption game is that of Native American land. Charles Smith is a character who is believed to be indigenous, at least halfway within his ancestry, and fans took a liking to him since he had an interesting story arc in the game. So seeing more of that is certainly going to be a welcome addition for the players, though it's hard to know if Rockstar is up for that. Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the most realistic video games that the world has ever seen. The attention to detail is so ridiculously amazing that you won't even notice everything on a single playthrough, and that translated perfectly into the gameplay side of things too, as the game is extremely fluid and features many RPG-like elements, which even includes the fact that wearing warm clothes in a sunny area makes your character get tired easily. So RDR 3, if it takes place after RDR 1, then one obvious improvement that we will see is in terms of better weapons, better vehicles, and environments that look a bit more developed than before. But when you think about how to improve things even further in ways that previous RDR games didn't offer, it's a difficult thing to consider. But fans are always one step ahead of the developers and already let the company know their biggest complaint, which is a lack of freedom. Now don't get your revolvers ready to shoot at me. Let me elaborate. Yes, RDR 2 is one of the most flexible open-world video games that we have seen in recent years. There are tons of side missions, customizable options, alternate choices, and mini-games in the game's world, which the player can participate in, but the game does have a lack of freedom, and that is within the gameplay of when you play a main story mission. Red Dead Redemption 2 forces the player to do things their way. Occasionally you do get a choice between things like letting an enemy live or killing them on the spot, which even alters minor story elements a little bit. However, if you ever want to take an alternate path or shortcut in a traversal mission, the game forces you to start over because it acknowledges that you're going off route. And furthermore, even if you just stand on the wrong side or walk a bit too much to one side or another in the middle of a mission, the game forces you to restart the mission again because it wants you to stand exactly in the right space. This feels like being an actor and being forced by a director to follow specific directions. And while it's understandable that this is a cinematic video game, it's a bit too much and feels like a limitation in a game that is otherwise so massive and full of freedom for the player. So, while I'm sure Rockstar will find new gimmicks and realistic features to have our jaws hit the floor when they start revealing RDR 3, the one thing that is very important for them to fix is how the missions work. A little more freedom won't hurt anyone, and if anything, they can just add an extra option to enable warnings for players who get lost easily. This way, everyone goes home happy. Red Dead Online was very entertaining and gave gamers a nice change of pace from playing GTA Online. However, due to mismanagement and a comparatively lesser interest in RDR Online when compared to GTA Online, it did not become popular in the way that Rockstar Games was hoping, and thus updates for it have been very slow. And as of 2023, it's very clear that the developers have simply given up on releasing any major content for it in the future. Now, Rockstar is not one to make the same mistake twice, and this leaves us wondering if there will be a different approach to Red Dead Redemption 3's online component, because GTA Online turned out to be a massive cash cow that works perfectly as a live service product, and it would be strange for Rockstar to try to release an alternative like RDO at the same time, especially since this has already failed once anyway. So it's very much possible that either RDR 3 will come out nearly a decade after GTA 6, or that the online component will be scaled down this time around and be more similar to RDR 1 and GTA 4 than GTA Online and RDO. Either that, or they might make it similar to RDO and just not promise massive support this time around, which will make it a fun little game for people to play around in if they want. It's impossible to be sure of their approach at the moment, but it will be fun to see it go either of the two ways. We do not need to hear an official announcement for this topic to know for a fact that Red Dead Redemption 3 will be a game that will exclusively come out on the 9th generation of gaming consoles, which are the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. And of course, the PC platform will be included too, though they might release the game a bit late on it as they did with RDR2 and GTA 5. But we can never expect it to come out on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One because those consoles already struggled hard to run Red Dead Redemption 2 on stable FPS. So RDR3, which will undoubtedly be so much more demanding in terms of hardware, will never run properly on older consoles. And last but not least, we're probably not going to be able to play RDR3 for at least half a decade, and it can be much longer than that too. By that time, consoles like the PS4 will be obsolete anyway, and it wouldn't be possible to buy new games on them from AAA developers. One way or another, I'm very excited to see where the Red Dead franchise goes from here, and I am 100% certain that we will get Red Dead Redemption 3 soon, because it would be illogical for Rockstar to not develop the sequel to a game that sold 50 million copies. But now I want to hear from you. What are your biggest expectations from RDR3? And do any of you have an uncle who works at Rockstar or anywhere else who could give us some inside leaks? Let me know in the comments below. And before we wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank to all my patrons for their support. You're making it possible for me to create more awesome content and dive into exciting topics around various Rockstar games. If you're not already a patron, consider joining my community and gaining access to exclusive perks. Finally, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be updated whenever I upload new content. Thanks for staying till the end of this video. Have a great day, everyone, and see you in the next one.